And I'm recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Thrythlind Branwen rambling about random topics. And also, there's a vampire.
Who is unfortunately a guy.
Who is very unfortunately a guy. Look at.
Strickland's project could be dangerous. I have a mind to report him to Dr. Ackroyd.
Which one is Dr. Ackroyd?
The other one that we ran into that I then didn't talk to.
Oh, the guy who hates us because he thinks we're a poster child, media darling.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Alright.
Let's see. We need to choose what to do about Thoreau Strickland. Do we want to bring the medication to him, or do we want to report him to Dr. Ackroyd?
Mm,
Watery, rich blood sample. Is all this
Snob.
improved recipe of Dr. Strickland's new drug, which we just put together? I'm not sure what to do.
So, what was the list of what was in it? It was an opiate, it was.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, morphine still gets used, but it's really heavily controlled, and we got a lot of really bad opiates now.
Yeah.
Um, I think morph.
But I'm specifically for this application.
I if there's a history, I can't remember. The only one that they mentioned was opium. There was like a sodium distillate or some sort, but like there's sodium gets used in so many medicines.
I really wish they hadn't called it a placebo.
I really wish they gave you the ingredient. Is there a history on the quest? Well, if we look at quest items, maybe there is maybe the note we found in the inventory. We're looking for there we go. Medical opium, sodium hypochlorite, potassium permanganate.
Permanganate.
The bottom.
Potassium permanganate.
Yeah, permanganate. Blah, 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 blah. I can words. The bottom two, I don't know enough. I mean, I could go get my head cut off by my sister, who's a pharmacist and is actively working in the other room.
Give me a moment, because you have a pharmacist, I have a chemist. And do you have a moment? Hello, everyone. This is my girlfriend Anne. Hi. We have Dr. Strickland's list here. It can. We have created this medicine. It is medical opium, super hypochlorite, and potassium permanganate. Sodium hypochlorite. Pardon me.
How
I
horrible
got
is this thing?
Well done. How horrible is this thing, as Thrift just asked?
Thing that wouldn't actually be I mean, it depends. How are they prescribing this? Is this like a rub-in?
It hasn't said. We just know it's a medicine that one of the patients needs. Or that one of the doctors is experimenting and creating this to help a particular patient. I personally think that the quest is more about whether or not you as a character supports the traditionalist who wants to use tried and true methods, or the experimenter who wants to find new ways of doing things and is willing to take small risks.
The problem is that the experimentalist is very unethical about his small
Big
risks.
deal? This is a pain-numbing agent and some antiseptics. So
Right.
well done.
Okay.
That said, what you should do is grab all the potassium permanganate, keep it for yourself, and use it to make like incendiaries to fight the vampires with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Potassium permanganate is spontaneously combustible with a lot of organics. It's fine.
Awesome.
I had a responsible childhood and good surveillance. What's the word when you like watch a child? Observation, supervision.
Supervision. Of course you had all of those things. You're a chemist. Anyway, thank you very much, Anne. And now back to the main event. I'm going to go
Yeah,
with the experimenter.
yeah, no, that
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
this looks very.
I have managed to improve the mixture by diluting it. Have you ever heard of Sir Joseph Francis Olive? Or the placebo effect?
No, I don't think so. Why?
A placebo is a substance or procedure that has no actual physical effect.
You made a placebo of my project. Why?
Research has established that a placebo, as long as the subject believes in the effect, can provoke a positive physiological reaction.
Really? That's fascinating. And you want me to, what, administer the placebo and see what occurs?
Something like that, yes.
Well, I'm a bit surprised, but I trust you, Dr. Reed. Please take the key to my cabinet and put this placebo there for future use.
So there's a writer who read a bunch of words.
Yes.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I can't say too much because I have similarly been that writer that has read a bunch of words. That was pretty glaring.
Sweet girl. Reads me like a book.
Very much like, it's like, have you ever heard of the placebo effect? No, I, a medical doctor with actual license, has never heard of the placebo effect. Oh, well, I made your medicine into a placebo. Wait, you made my medicine into a placebo that I've never heard of?
At least Strickland can't kill anyone with this formula. It's locked, all right.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's locked.
It's okay.
It's locked.
Oh.
That's the guy.
Yeah, no. Okay, so he tried to drink something he shouldn't have.
It sounds like he committed suicide, tried to commit suicide.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I don't like to say those words.
Right. I apologize.
It is okay. They are just words. Yes. Anyhow,
So we need maybe talk to Dr. Swansea because we need to eventually figure out how to get treatments for headache.
We do. Let's progress.
I am curious as to how we got treatments for bronchitis and pneumonia before we got treatments for basic headache.
Progression.
Evening, Edgar. Could I get your professional opinion?
Please speak. But I have something important to tell you.
This strain of flu, it's very different from the one I saw in Europe. It's downright peculiar.
Really? What makes you say that?
I've just looked at the blood
Sorry.
of one of
No
our
problem.
recently deceased.
I see. Do you have anything more to go on?
This disease spreads and looks like the Spanish flu, but its effects differ greatly. The London strain is different from the continental one.
This is very interesting. Did you find something else?
Why is it nothing I can share there?
In case we don't want to tell him about vampire stuff,
I guess, yeah.
but I'm more inclined to
He's a
recruit his help.
yeah, he's an ivory-tower theorist, but he's not terrible.
Yes. Unlike
Not
the
that we
flu,
know about yet.
the infected begin to show an increase in outwardly aggressive behavior. More than simple agitation. Once docile people become violent.
You mean like rabies? Is there a chance we could create a vaccine, Jonathan, like Pasteur? By the stove, that would be smashing.
There's a lot we're not seeing here, but it is spreading, and quickly. If we don't act, the whole city could be lost.
But Jonathan, we've a fantastic opportunity sitting right here in front of us. A weapon of choice.
What on earth do you mean?
Why, you, my dear boy. With your expertise and your blood, we could isolate the properties that course through your veins. Think about the possibilities.
Okay, so I take everything back I said about Strickland. Compared to Swansea, what Swansea just said, he's an absolutely cautious individual.
Yeah. I may turn London into my realm. It's too dangerous. I feel
Yeah.
like our Jonathan would
But the risk of infection using vampire blood could compound the situation.
I know, but your blood now carries remarkable regenerative properties. With our minds and your blood, there's nothing we couldn't cure.
We'll discuss this more later. Thank you for your time.
No, thank you, Jonathan. But as I said, I needed to talk to you. I have some rather bad news.
Yes?
I'm afraid it's your sister.
My sister.
She's to be buried this evening at Whitechapel Cemetery. Your mother published the obituary this morning.
I see.
I'm sorry, Jonathan. Please accept my condolences.
Oh, we're gonna have to deal with something along those lines, aren't we?
So, one thing I do kind of wish is that characters in third-person games, after they receive certain pieces of news, they should emote. There should be some sort of mood animation for various points in story.
And a change in the idols. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so Aykroyd was tattling on
Strickland.
yeah.
I also note his whole thing is with your blood in my mind. It's like you're aware you're talking to someone who's actually been who's actually regarded as being rather good at the job research as well.
There is someone we have not met yet.
There's a couple people here.
Oh yes, we haven't talked to Mortimer's mother.
Right.
We do have a treatment for fatigue. We should give that to him and talk to his mother. Mind if I go and do that quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Never could keep anything from her.
I cannot enter.
Alright. Okay. Time to drop some eaves.
I never thought I would have to attend my murdered sister's funeral. Mary, I can't forgive myself. I'll find the truth about what happened to us. I swear.
The eye was in the tomb.
I think we just missed that event.
Oh,
There are eavesdropping events.
got it. Do they only happen once?
No. No, the game's not that poorly designed.
Waste of time with me. Reads me like a book. I never could keep anything.
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes, thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
Speaking of which, I also have my familiar here now.
Oh, you have Kitty?
I have Kitty.
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
I suddenly got a very hefty amount of professional disdain for this person.
I mean, I don't know whether that was whether she was saying that as a positive or a negative.
Do you require medical...
I have other
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
The way I read her statement was that she feels women shouldn't be into trying to advance their state.
Yeah. Yes, I wasn't sure whether it was that direction or the opposite direction, but let's keep talking to her and see.
Yep.
I've read your son's medical report, Beatrice. It's not the flu or anything life-threatening. What has you so worried?
He was at death's door when he was brought here. I just want him to be better as soon as possible.
He's not out of the woods yet, you know. He might need to stay here longer than expected.
Take care of him then, Dr. Reed. People here only seem to focus on contagious patients. I worry my poor Mortimer will be neglected.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude.
What do you mean?
She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
I question this as being a shock thing. I mean, again, Jonathan has been in horrific circumstances. This shouldn't come as a surprise. I'm absolutely sure things like this went on during the trenches and all that to try to just keep things going that looked and were very shady from an outsider's perspective.
But should we pretend to be?
Yeah,
I kind of want to do this.
I do too. See where it goes.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick.
That's better.
Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
Okay.
So as an American, how do you feel about someone being surprised at being charged to be in a hospital bed?
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Hadn't quite thought of it in that regard, but gee, I mean, that really is. I was surprised at not being charged to just in Japan where they let me. I had an infection. They told me to take a week off, and then I went, and I couldn't sleep because of pain, headache, and such from the infection. So I went in the next day, and they gave me some pain meds, and they also let me sleep in like one of the examination beds for I think it was like 2-3 hours until I woke up again and they felt I was safe to drive back home.
But in the
And
circumstances,
did not
I'm
charge
willing
me
to
for
give you the
that.
benefit of the
And
doubt.
that was a surprise.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Your medical report says you're not affected by the Spanish flu. What do you think of that, Mortimer?
Does it make me happy? Not in the slightest. If it was up to me, I would have left this place long ago. I know I don't belong here.
And why do you think you don't belong here?
I know the staff have more important things to do than look after me. There's plenty of patients here who need their attention.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
I don't know.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Hint required. Hint required.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
I have to go now, sir.
I do like
Time
the
with me.
echoing bit with the
Good evening, Doctor.
mesmerism.
How is my son doing?
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
Her concerns, it's weird. What time we got? 25 minutes.
Good
Okay.
evening, sir.
Her concerns are understandable, but the way she expresses them just sets me on edge.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that meme going around from the Winter Soldier. It's like he's out of line, but he's not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. If we're not going, I'm going to go ahead and switch videos before we get this started. And I'll be right back. Oh, nope. It looks like it's starting, so I'll wait until this is done.
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
New hint
Ow.
available.
Now we're just going to take our positions again. After that very confusing talk.
Yep.
Tip to aspiring writers: naturalistic dialogue is very hard.
Yeah. Give me a moment to switch videos before you start conversation.